What'd you do at FCM, Mayor?
I got a squeaky.
I see that we have quorum, and I call this regular meeting of Committee of the Whole for June 2nd to order. It's been moved by Councillor Papp, seconded by Councillor Kersey, that the agenda for the June 2nd, 2014 regular meeting of Committee of the Whole be adopted. Are there any additions, changes to the agenda? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. The next item is disclosure of pecuniary interest. That is, any conflicts of interest. Do any members have any conflicts they need to disclose on any of the reports? There are none. Can that be so noted, please? The first item has been moved by Councillor Kersey, second by Councillor Lane, that Committee of the Whole received the 2013 Statement of Council Board Remuneration for information, and I believe there was additional information that the Treasurer circulated earlier today with the items from the Library Board and also Committee of Adjustment. Questions, comments? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. The next item has been moved by Councillor Lane, second by Councillor Kersey. Committee of the Whole received the 2013 final reserve balances as audited for information. Questions, comments? There being none, call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Next item has been moved by Councillor Lane, second by Councillor Kersey, that Committee of the Whole received the May 2014 Corporate Services Monthly Report for information. Questions, comments for our Treasurer? You ready for calling of the question? Oh, Councillor Durley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wondering, under new payments options, under projects, number 3, we're looking at more cost-effective way of taking credit card payments during Summerfest and Supper Market. I'm just wondering why the town needs to take that, if in fact the Supper Market and the Summerfest are committees of council, they pretty well act on their own. Why is it that the town needs to enter into this project?
Madam Treasurer?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. There are some tables that the town will be running at both events, and responsible. And in addition, we are assisting this Summerfest committee to do something that's a little bit more cost-effective under their umbrella and not just the town's umbrella. But this was a new idea that came up. We did some investigation into the squares, as they call them, that sit on Androids and iPhones, and they are relatively inexpensive to obtain. Their rate per transaction is much lower than, for instance, the debit machine that we currently have, the point of sales terminals that we currently have. So it just provides another customer service option for those vendors. The cost of that system and all its expenses go under the Summerfest or can be shared across the Supper Market, and they will all be contributing towards it. And we're going to run it as a pilot this year, and hopefully, it might be an option that the town might want to use at the front cashier to take payments as well in the future.
Is there a possibility that it can be incorporated at the farmers market as well?
Yes, absolutely. We're talking about even using it for some expenses that occurred through the Mayor's Gala, and I was speaking with the CEO's admin and the Mayor's admin on that, and we're hoping that next year we might be able to bring it in late May and have those systems here until early September, or if Thursday nights expand throughout winter, we could have something all year round with it.
Thank you. Maybe I can use it to pay my library fees as well.
Maybe.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments for the Treasurer? Councillor Kersey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I had a question regarding the website. The website will be an ongoing work in progress. It'll be continually being developed and changed. How are we paying for this? Is this budgeted in the IT department budget? Where is the money coming from to continue it?
This is done internally by staff, specifically the Marketing Communications Director and the IT Coordinator. And this summer, the IT summer student is doing a lot of work on the website as well. So it's things that are already budgeted, taken care of. If there's something specific, like in 2014, we asked for, we've got approval for an intranet. So there's a committee under performance planning working on developing and designing what that intranet would look like. We currently have $6,000 in the budget. We're hoping to come within that realm, but we would definitely come back to council if it was more than that. Other than that, outside of anything that we can't do internally, we would definitely bring back to 2015 budget.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, and I think Councillor, Mr. CEO, other staff are trained on it, is that correct? So that it's updatable by many, not just by a couple?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. Actually, as part of performance management, the department is evaluated on how well they keep their content up to date. And it's the individual department's responsibility to make sure that web content is current and that it's accurate.
Thank you.
Oh, that's good.
Okay,
That's great.
thank you. Anything further?
Just
Councillor Durley?
one more question, Mr. Mayor, if I may, thank you, through you. Point 11 in that same thing, the Wi-Fi in Peace Park, which has been expanded to the arena, it's indicated there's 216 clients. Is there an extra cost being incurred because of the arena location?
No, there's not. There would be an internet cost that's already there, so that cost is part of our already absorbed internet fees. So the Wi-Fi is, the only cost is the hotspot that you put out there for it. For instance, we are looking at putting a hotspot under the arches so that the Wi-Fi can go out this side of the town hall for Summerfest using the point of sale machines and so forth. But the internet charge is already there, it's already ongoing, it's part of our fiber and our Wi-Fi charges monthly.
Okay, so it's a service that's just being extended
That's
past
right.
the walls of the, okay, thank you.
Thank you. How do we advertise that?
Currently, it's advertised on the website, I believe, and I believe that the marketing communications coordinator has put it into the community section of the newspaper. I have seen it in there. I haven't seen the one specifically about the arena, but I know that Peace Park. When we expand out to this side of the arches, there definitely will be a press release with respect to that, because it will help individuals like the farmers market as well.
Something maybe we should consider is putting up a sign of some sort. I know when you walk into a business that has Wi-Fi, they put the little Wi-Fi symbol on. Might be something to consider. Thank you. Councillor Durley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And point 19, the capping, provincial capping, how close are we to actual market value? I know they were going to eliminate that eventually when it got that close. How close are we? I know 10 years ago we were this close, now are we farther away?
Yeah, yes, we were supposed to be completed about approximately 10 years. We have 3 properties now remaining on it, very small dollars at this point. We anticipate that, we're still, each year you only take a little bit off of that, so we're still a few years out from being at market value on that, but we're very close. Our capping is less than $10,000 at this point.
3,000, right?
Further, though, region-wide, I know Niagara Falls was a large benefactor of this, and so other municipalities were feeding that. How close are they to? Is there an indication of that, or you wouldn't know?
I have no indication of that. I know that it's been brought up at several of the area treasurers meeting about, working with the government to take this away. It's not a huge impact on us, so we haven't really done a whole lot to, we support that and so forth, but not other municipalities are getting very much involved in trying to get that removed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kersey?
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to comment with respect to the discussion on Wi-Fi. I attended at FCM a conference on smart communities. And one of the things that they found, smart communities all favor having a robust Wi-Fi in their downtown cores, in their public meeting spaces, because they find that it helps to, again, attract and keep young people in the community, keep them involved in the community, and attract knowledge-based entrepreneurs, et cetera, et cetera. So I would hope that staff would continue to explore the expansion of Wi-Fi in our downtowns, finding economical ways to do this. I hope that as we go forward with Fenwick, that'll be incorporated, that we could at some point look at having free Wi-Fi in our downtown Fawn Hill as well as some other parts of our community. So I would encourage staff to continue to look for financially sensible ways of expanding our Wi-Fi, our free Wi-Fi. I think it's a great thing to do.
Thank you very much, Councillor. I look forward to hearing more about it and the actions that are taken. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anything further on the Treasurer's report? I just have 2 other items. I raised it last meeting about the meter repairs, so the water meters. So here's another 5. There were 9 last meeting. Any cause for concern?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. And again, this is through many reports, but it's nice to see staff that are undertaking significant professional development and training, so kudos to staff. Anything further? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion is carried. Good discussion. Thank you. Next item has been moved by Councillor Kersey, second by Councillor Lane. That committee of the whole recommended council that the report Keith's Restaurant request bench and waste receptacle be received for information. Discussion. And as I understand it, there is some action that will be taken. Mr. CEO, some of the containers will be relocated so they're not as close to the benches. So it will be receiving of this, but some information, some action will occur. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Anyone else? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. We look forward to that action occurring soon. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Durley. The Committee of the Whole received the May 2014 Public Works and Utilities Department report for information. Questions or comments to the CAO? Councillor Papp?
Very quickly, FEMIC revitalization, and just help me, Mr. CEO. It says the low tender was 2.5, the budget is 4, approximately 4 million. Help me reconcile this. There's a $1.5 million lower cost for this?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, that's,
Total budget?
that's, the budget allocation is total budget. That 2.5 million is only for the road and landscaping
For
component.
that portion of it?
We also have to add on that gas, cable, hydro. I think hydro's in the order of about $800,000. So there is other expenses here
Okay.
than just the tender work.
Right, that's
But
what
all added up, we're still on budget.
Okay.
Just anything else on that?
No, I'll leave that. I had another question. It's just,
Can we, I think there might be others on that particular item. Councillor Kersey, Councillor Ribbiak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Along that same line, one of the things that we did when we did the street in Fawn Hill was we continually got reports on a work plan spreadsheet. And at that time, we all said, let's have a work plan spreadsheet that is very transparent. It shows not only budgeted items, planned items, budgeted items, tendered items, as well as we went out, dollars expended, so that this council is well aware of all of the items that are involved in this, so that when we see this report, well, I appreciate the amount of information that we have here. I think there's a whole lot more that could make the picture a lot clearer. As well, I think if we used a worksheet like that and made it policy that a worksheet like that would be used, in fact, things would not be missed. One of the things that was missed in the Fawn Hill revitalization was telephone services, and amounted to over $100,000, if I'm not mistaken. So I would like to see that sort of report coming forward to council on a monthly basis. If, certainly don't have to see it every 2 weeks, but on a monthly basis, it would help to create transparency and keep us well informed on where we are in the entire process, as well as the public.
Mr. CEO?
I would be pleased to provide that information as requested by the council.
Thank you. I think it's a good point, and the councillor's right. We did have those reports, and Councillor Papp had provided reports from other communities, and it was quite a
give a protocol. Just use that.
quite a discussion, and important for the community to see how the monies were spent. And it was for both downtown Fawn Hill and Heath Street.
That's right.
So thank you. Councillor Ribbiak and then Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In reading the report, couldn't help but be struck by the fact that the contractor selected for this was Stevensville Lawn Service, and the subcontractors are Rankin. I have no doubt at all that the contractors selected are good ones and they're going to do a good job, but perhaps some commentary can be given us with regard to why, and apparently the landscaping company's taking the lead on this, and the hard engineering companies, the sub. Just some explanation with regard to that.
I have no clue, Mr. Mayor. I hesitate to say that that's the way they bid. They partner, companies will partner. There's two components to the project. There's the engineering construction, road reconstruction work, and then the bulk of the program. I mean, that's probably the more difficult work. But the beautification is a lot of landscape architectural work, and this firm is known for their work. They did Pelham Street for us, as you may be aware. So they've opted to be the primary on the contract, and they've subcontracted the road reconstruction work to Rankin. It's just the way they bid. Why they decided to do it that way, I have no clue.
Okay. Anything further? No? Councillor Lane?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is another issue, but it's the reconstruction of Regional Road 20 more.
So we're just going to deal right now with
With the other
Fenwick revitalization,
Okay, I'm
and then
sorry.
I'll come back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further on Fenwick
Other
revitalization?
than that, another.
Okay. Now, I'd had Councillor Kersey, you were on a few items, were you not?
I think
Or
my
can we turn
commentary
it-
stands for a number of items here where we've received part of the tender, we haven't got the whole picture, so if it's applied to that, I'm happy.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
thank you. Councillor Lane, I'll move to you, and then Councillor Durley, and then Councillor Papp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the notes, it shows a reconstruction of Regional Road 20, which includes the Hay Street section from 20 to Cambro, and I'm just wondering if there's available any kind of time frame for that work, because I get a lot of comments about Hay Street and the, what's going on there.
I don't know if the CEO heard the question as he was being asked
Disrupting
another
everyone.
question.
Wasn't
Mr. CEO
disrupting
was
him,
regarding the timing.
Disrupting you.
The timing of Hay Street and Regional Road 20, do you have any information?
I don't have any information on timing, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I have limited information on timing. I know that the region has, and the town have worked together and awarded the contract. And that it is intended to start, they told me, before the end of June. They told me that 3 weeks ago, and I keep pressing to say, look, our road is pretty beat up. Is there any way to move that ahead? We do have a Public Works Committee meeting tomorrow, and I was planning on raising it. It's not there. It doesn't require regional council approval or town council approval, so it can proceed. But they did say that it was supposed to start for sure by the end of June. But I will get additional information for
Thank
you.
you, appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Now, who did I have next? Councillor Durley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have received some concerns about ditch cleaning, and, people complain if the ditch isn't clean, but I've got complaints from folks who have ditches that were cleaned in the fact that they were dug so deep that the ditch bottom is lower than the culvert which feeds into it, causing water to sit in that ditch lower than the culvert and not move anywhere, and in fact, it becomes stagnant, stinky, and a breeding ground for mosquitoes. I know when they dig, it's very difficult to go to a specific point, but when the ditch bottom is 4 to 6 inches deeper than the culvert, water comes in and does sit there, and it is a concern to many people. I'm just wondering if anything can be done to address these issues.
I'll be sure to bring that up to the attention of the director when he returns from vacation.
Can we get it added to the next committee report?
Well, I'll have him come back with information regarding that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Others? Councillor Papp, were you next?
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt the other one, but in fact, CEO, this is what I mean, just curious, under Centennial Park playing field improvements, it's great, the tender came in 260,000 lower than what we budgeted, right? And then I go to another one on Port Robinson Road, again, the tender is down $400,000. Is that correct?
Sorry, I'm just looking that one up.
So there must be some real competitive marketing pricing going on, because we seem to be on the plus side. I'm not complaining, I'm amazed at the way the tenders are coming in. Thanks, Mr. Mayor, that's all, I just found it fascinating, just the, Am I right, am I wrong? I don't know.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To answer the councilor's question, the Centennial Park is correct, the bid came in lower. I'm gonna reserve comment on the Port Robinson one, because I don't know
Okay.
if that's similar to the
Right.
Fenwick case where there's other utilities that we had to consider. I can verify and get
Okay.
back to you on that one.
Okay.
I think, if memory serves correct, the Port Robinson one, it was actually the roads
The roads
budget
are-
was 1.6. So the budget that's quoted here is water and sewer. And if it's not the case in the Fenwick, so then we have the report being inconsistent. So to Councillor Kersey's point, it would make sense to have that,
That is not.
you know, highlighted for us a little bit more completely. Okay, so we look forward to more information on that.
Okay, thank you, that's all.
Anything else? Councillor Lane,
Yes, this is a new one again.
go ahead.
Okay, and this is in regards to the asbestos survey. And there was two locations that are recognized as having asbestos, one being the old fire station. And it says here that the condition requires immediate remediation or repair. Would that be something that would be considered for the old fire station, knowing that it's, not much is happening with it?
Mr. CEO?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We just completed our assessment, our asbestos abatement survey of all of our buildings. The ones that have identified as requiring immediate remediation means they pose a risk, immediate risk, which means that we are responsible for their remediation and repairs. It's an issue that we would have to deal with. Some asbestos is fine as long as it's not disturbed, stuff that's in floor tile or in window caulking. It needs to be abated, but it needs to be done properly. But if it's asbestos wrap around a pipe and you go and demolish it, that's the real high risk stuff where the particles get in the air. So that's the results of our audit, and we'll have to comply to make sure that all of our facilities are safe.
Well, I'm just questioning if is the building being used?
It's being used for storage.
Thank you.
Thank you. Others? Can we, maybe you don't have the answer, Mr. CEO. I think a number of us were keen last meeting regarding the traffic management studies and programs, and we were assured that there would be action, I thought in June, for Hay Street and Pancake Lane. Are there any additional, it doesn't seem that there's any additional changes here.
I have no update on that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we look forward to that next meeting. Anything further? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried, and there's some significant information the council is interested in receiving at our next meeting, or either a committee meeting or a council meeting. Thank you. The next item has been moved by Councillor Durley, seconded by Councillor King. The Committee of the Whole received the information summary report describing an application for commercial building facade improvement grant, and the staff be directed to prepare the necessary grant agreement and execution bylaw between the town and KL Ventures Limited, Lou Bradley, for the commercial building facade improvement grant located at 1412 Pelham Street for consideration at a subsequent council meeting. Discussion? Councillor Durley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That is a grand old building, and I'm just wondering if, in fact, there is something that may be of value heritage-wise, and is this a consideration when a CIP application does come in? Because I'm sure the Heritage Committee would have some great ideas to look at this thing, and I'm just wondering, is there a conflict between heritage? There is no designation, however, heritage features and CIP.
Thank you. Mr. Glover?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. We currently don't have an inventory or a designation on our properties. We are working towards that. This obviously, as you say, is a heritage property, and when we get a CIP application in, or any planning application for that matter, even pre-consultation, we always strive to maintain the character and integrity of that feature, whether it's identified or not. through the Heritage Committee, when we get our inventory, we'll be hopefully cataloging these buildings, putting them on inventory and registering them as well. In this case, it's just the building. It does have heritage features, so we've asked them to maintain that. Through the design that they have here proposed, we feel that it meets the integrity and keeps the character of the heritage component of it as best possible, while improving the facades as well.
Thank you.
I congratulate staff in taking that initiative, because it is a grand building, and some of the features there are very pleasing and should be preserved. Thank you.
Thank you. Others? Councillor Kersey.
Just in general, Mr. Mayor, I'm excited to see yet another application for CIP involvement. We're starting to see that momentum build, and the street is starting to change its character, and so what was envisioned 4 years ago, 5 years ago, thereabouts, when we were working on developing it, is starting to happen. It took a little bit of time, and bear in mind, for every dollar that our community puts in, $9 or $10 comes back into the community based on what's invested in those properties. So I think it's phenomenal to see this.
Thank you very much. Councillor? Couldn't agree more. Thank you. Others? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. It's been moved by Councillor Lane, seconded by Councillor Kersey, that Committee of the Whole receive the May 2014 Community Planning and Development Services Report for information. Discussion. Trying to move ahead to it myself. First, I want to thank the director for including, as council requested, information regarding building permits and the timeframes for that. It'll be interesting to watch that as building picks up or slows down or whatever, how those numbers might change. But very good to see that you're capturing those numbers, so thank you very much for that. I know that was something the council was interested in. Other comments, questions on the report? Councillor Papp.
Just picking up on what you're mentioning, Mr. Mayor, through you to the Director of Planning, I just want to share with you that from time to time we do run into members of the development community, and I want to say to you that they are very, very pleased with the professionalism of yourself and the staff in dealing with applications. So you need to know that and hear that, because sometimes they won't deal directly, and are very pleased with the processes and how they're being handled. That it seems like, you know, they're getting the right answers, they're moving towards the right, and whether it's CIP or major developments. So congratulations and keep it up. It's paying off.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you. Others? Councillor Kersey.
Mr. Mayor, I see that we're working diligently on getting our new zoning bylaw, and that some documents have been produced for staff. I wondered if there was any information in those reports that would help to enlighten council on the process that we're going through to develop the zoning bylaw, so that by the time we get the draft zoning bylaw to our table, we already are sort of steeped in the background reports and have some understanding of what has gone into producing the recommendations that are coming forward.
Mr. Glover?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We do have basically a very tertiary background report on the zoning bylaw. That's almost we're reviewing it, but we want to have the downtown master plan and the East Fonthill work near completion, so that it will complement this comprehensive zoning bylaw when we go forward with that. So we're almost staging it logically. Obviously, when we move forward with the zoning bylaw, there'll be a full process come forward with that. Right now, we're at the baby steps, I guess, of it. So in due course, we will have proper reports, proper information. If council so desires additional information or information on the process, we can do that. But at this point in time, it's premature, I think, until we get the downtown and East Fonthill resolved.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Glover. Others? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you to staff for that. It's been moved by Councillor Durley, second by Councillor King, that Committee of the Whole receive the May 2014 Fire and Bylaw Services Report for information. Speaking of professional development, the Chief's just back from a couple of weeks of professional development away. Anything for the Chief? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you, Chief. It's been moved by Councillor Durley, second by Councillor King. The Committee of the Whole received the May 2014 Recreation, Culture, and Wellness Department report for information. Questions, comments? Councillor Papp?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and first of all, again, the Isaac Rail Skateboard Park Memorial, and that was great. I just couldn't help, and I think some of us talked, that a lot of the kids, a lot of them weren't wearing helmets, and I can't, I know it's difficult, Vicky, trying to, but like half wore them, half didn't, and I'm watching them do these extraordinary jumps, 1,400 feet in the air, and, you know, I'm thinking, and I think I challenged the treasurer to go out on a skateboard, but she turned me down. We still,
You were gonna ride in tandem, or what?
yeah, that's right, exactly. So we need to, at some point, we're gonna have to come back with how we approach everybody there. Are we looking at having everybody sign a waiver? Would that be the idea, or am I, no, just a sign? Explain it to me, because it was just a
Ms.
little.
Van Ravensway?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. It is a difficult situation, being that it is a open outdoor facility. It's unsupervised. We have spoke with our insurers as well as with our solicitor. For the event, we had a particular waiver that was approved by our solicitor that anyone participating in the actual event activities, they had to sign the waiver and they must wear their helmets and safety gear, which they did abide by. Being that it is a outdoor facility, unsupervised, we have done our due diligence with signage, highly recommending, as well as pointing out the bodily harm that could happen as a result of the use of the facility, and they are at their own risk. In speaking with our insurer, that is basically the best that we can do at this point. So in saying that, we are working with the youth, our skateboard committee, and that is their next big project, is promotion of safety gear, and as well as policing, if you want to call it that, the skateboard park, and hopefully we will eliminate as many incidences as possible.
Thank you. Councillor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I think I mentioned before a couple of months ago that my offer still stands, but I've been in touch with the legal representatives who specialize. You probably read on the front page of the paper today in the Star that this whole series of concussions and things, whether it's professional players and that, is becoming more prominent. And I just will, I'll have them contact you, Mr. Mayor, that we can set up, and Mr. CAO, for, they're prepared to do pro bono a session for you on not only the, the immunization of us, but also more importantly, just to educate the general public on what we can do to help with the kids, particularly anyone who's involved in these kinds of activities.
Thank you, Ms. Van Ravensway.
Just in saying that, I have been dealing with Diane Henderson.
Oh,
trying to
you
set
have
up.
been, perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, then
It's been
I-
really difficult to
Yeah.
get a meeting set up. We're hoping the end of June, although nothing has been confirmed. And as soon as it is, we will be inviting area municipalities to also attend.
Thank you, that's great, I'm glad to know that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Just on this point, the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council was concerned with this last year, along with mental health, and on both issues did a creative problem-solving process with the idea, how might we make it cool to wear a helmet? And there were some outcomes out of that perhaps the skateboard committee can look at, whether it's stickers or even incentives for helmets. Does the municipality, would it help for, we did it for rain barrels, or we did it for low flush toilets or whatever, would it help to provide some sort of incentive for for helmets, a monetary incentive. So those were some of the things that were ideas that were thought about at that, and I encourage staff to take a look at that. Anything else, Councillor Kersey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to highlight one thing here. I'd like to highlight the fact that B. Clark has been invited by the Ministry of Transportation to the Road Safety Achievement Awards. As we're aware, B has been a tireless worker on behalf of the Pelham Active Transportation Committee. She's very well versed in leading committees and speaking, public speaking. In fact, she has been speaking across Niagara with respect to Pelham Active Transportation and bike safety and involving bikes in economic development, et cetera, et cetera. So I just wanted to pay homage to B for the great amount of work that she's done for our community, and I wish her well at the awards.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Others? Councillor Powell.
Just for the last time, and again, it's always good to know that, and people need to know that the efforts that go into planning certain events and are many times driven by the people that are in our staff. And I want to take, I think, both on Councillor Kersey's behalf and myself, that as part of the supper market and the parking plan, and Mr. Mayor, that the Director of Recreation, Haley, all the staff, that we're about to start in 2 weeks. Whether it works, and I think it will work, a tremendous amount of effort has gone in, and we sincerely appreciate, I think, the time that it's taken and the investment that's done, and we know it'll be very successful considering everything we've been through. So look forward to it, and in 2 weeks we start.
Thank you very much, Councillor, for that, and certainly when one looks at the report from the Director of Recreation, Culture and Wellness, things are just heating up. So there's lots of activities, from the garden tour that's coming up to supper market to launch of the pool to just all kinds of things. So,
Summerfest.
to Summerfest, exactly.
And that, just that.
Just that. Canada Day first. So many activities. Councillor Pat?
Very quickly, I want to thank the Recreation Department. For my dog Casey and I, we see the sign that says Pelham Arena, and I don't know who's responsible for it, but we were ecstatic. We walked by every day, and I said, "Look at this, Casey. There it is. It's the Pelham Arena." Thank you. Finally.
Why don't you teach your dog to read?
Well, he does. You should see he drives the car too.
Thank you, Councillor.
Okay, thank you.
Just when we're talking about staff, I do note that there's some significant professional development going on as well in the department. So thank you so much for that. Two quick things. A question, maybe two questions. So the supper market, is it delayed? It was initially thinking the 12th. Now it's going to be the 19th. Is that correct? Okay, thank you. So we should get the word out on that, for fear that somebody might come here looking for dinner on the 12th. Although they can get a great dinner at the farmers market as well.
Exactly.
Just wondering about the Comfort Maple Legacy Project. Some great news there, and there'll be a number of trees. How many does it say here? And they'll be available in the fall. So, are we looking for? Can we have more information, or will more information come forward? 300, actually. Right? That's a lot of trees.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. We're preparing a full report for our next council meeting as an update. This is being in progress through the Communities in Bloom Committee. Actually, this is the second year. The first year, the seedlings were unsuccessful. But we had a great partnership with the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority, which they in turn have been in this program with EarthGen in producing baby comfy maples. So we do have 100 seedlings or small trees that have been dedicated to the Communities in Bloom Committee for sale. And the proceeds must go towards the Communities in Bloom initiatives within the community. There, because it was such a successful year, there is an additional 200 trees. Although at this point, the Conservation Authority also has plans for these comfy maple trees. So we're right at the moment speaking with them to see if we may have additional.
Okay, that's great. And is
At
it
the next
possible,
meeting, you should have an
so
update.
is it at all possible that the town may use some for its own purposes in addition? I'm thinking of
Yeah.
specific parks or,
That is exactly what we're asking for, and
okay.
we're
So I
hopefully.
look forward to that report.
Yes.
Thank you very much for
That's
that.
all very
Appreciate that. Great work. Anything further on report? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thanks so much. It's been moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Durley. The Committee of the Whole received the wayfinding and signage workshop final report prepared by Dillon Consulting Limited for information. Questions, comments? Councillor?
What's part two? We have the report. Where are we going with it?
Ms. Van Ravensway?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, this report will be used for any future wayfinding signage proposals through the town. At the present time, we do have a wayfinding staff committee, signage staff committee that they're investigating wayfinding signage, and they will use this as a reference. And I would imagine that report will be coming back to council.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Others? Councillor Pat?
Yeah, I'm just, this is great, I like it, I'm just wondering if in fact, if they're gonna use this, then it becomes actually I'm gonna say a protocol, an actual approved protocol from within the town, am I mistaken? It's not just for information, we're actually gonna utilize the recommendations, is that what I'm hearing, Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Seo
Or
wants to
Mr.
comment.
CEO, if you don't mean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To answer the councilor's question, there was a bit of timing issues around this. This was a regional initiative that
Right.
supplied a grant,
Right,
but, excuse me, at the same time, or a little bit before this, I guess, we internally had decided that wayfinding, because it is an item in the strategic plan, is something that we needed to address. So we have set up an interdepartmental committee to address wayfinding on a number of different levels. There's a lot of different wayfinding signs.
Yep.
Some signs we're gonna be doing quickly, like Walk Your Neighborhood, that should be done fairly quickly and implemented. Other things like wayfinding directional signage, entry feature signs, that is the work of this interdepartmental committee to make recommendations back to council.
okay.
I view the Dillon report simply as a complementary informational piece as opposed to actual recommendations to council on wayfinding. So I'm expecting that will be a very thorough presentation by staff. I'm expecting that there'll be locations identified, types of signs, all that type of work specific to our community. The Dillon report is rather generic in its approach.
Very helpful, because it's funny, because we just ran into Gord Hume at the FCM, he said the same thing to me, he says, where are your signs, get the signs, and he said it very nicely, and I said, guess what, that's on our agenda. Okay, good to hear.
Perfect, thank you. And I think, Madam Treasurer, we put some money in the budget, did we not? Or we had the discussion in budget about signage?
Yes, there is some money in the budget for that.
So good. Maybe there'll be some
Exact number.
actual signs up this year.
Sign the way.
Thank you. Anything further? I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion's carried. We look forward to seeing some of those signs in the neighborhood near you. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Ribbiak, seconded by Councillor King, that the issue summary report drainage apportionment agreement be received, and that the Committee of the Whole recommend that Council approve the agreement on share of assessment, Lestraco, Sonneveld, and that the clerk be directed to file agreement as per the requirements of the Drainage Act. Discussion? Councillor Accuracy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wondered if this issue had to come before council or committee because it's mandated by the Drainage Act, or staff just wanted to draw our attention to it? Or is this one of these items that can be left in staff's hands as long as it has no negative consequences to the town?
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, this was generated by the new drainage superintendent, and his process has been to bring it to council because we are actually making changes to this apportionment register. So that requires a council resolution.
I see.
Okay, thank you. Others? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. There may well be more of these coming. Thank you. The next item has been moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Durley, that the issue summary report Recreation Design Advisory Committee be received, and the Committee of the Whole recommend the Council approve the terms of reference for an Architectural Design Advisory Committee, and that staff be directed to proceed with the recruitment of members of the committee, reporting back with recommendations for appointment. Discussion. Councillor Durley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question as to, I notice in the list there, we have one representative from the Kinsman Club, which is the only service club that is represented. I'm just wondering why other service clubs are not there. I realize the Kinsman Club uses the old Pelham Town Hall for a meeting place right now, but I believe Rotary uses some, and there are other clubs that perhaps could take advantage of this, and I'm wondering if it would be advantageous to have all of the service clubs involved.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Vicky told me to.
Ms. Van Ravensway?
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
I think the council was looking for a real answer, so let's see if Ms. Van Ravensway has
The
one.
thought behind actually naming the Kinsman Club is one of the main users of the arena at the present time. And as we all know, the service clubs do meet on a regular basis all together. And they could be a spokesperson on behalf of all of them.
It's more in relation to the home show than their use of Old Pelham Town Hall. Okay, Councillor Durley?
Okay, just a question though, that, you know, if in fact this does come to fruition and there is a community center with several rooms, would it not be feasible to include the other service clubs, because now more than one group would have an opportunity to use this as a meeting place to get their business done? And this is my objective looking forward.
Okay. Mr. Ciero?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wouldn't recommend that we have every service club, otherwise our committee will be fairly large, and there's a wide variety of different types of service clubs. So what I might suggest is that instead of identifying the Kinsmen in particular, that council consider one representative from a service club within the community and leave it open for applications to come in. I might just make that as a recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, considering there may be only one service club which is interested in sitting, and this is what you're saying.
Or there might be two, and then council would have to decide.
Okay, that works. I'm just, you know, to be in isolation, to have one group, to me, just gives me just a little bit of some wheezies, so.
Okay, thank you. So we can look
That's
forward
good,
to
yeah, thank you.
an amendment if you want to do that. Councillor Kersey.
As an alternate to that suggestion, Mr. Mayor, perhaps we could suggest an appointed liaison that would be appointed by all the service groups to represent the service groups on the planning committee. I think that would be more appropriate, because that mandates then communication back to the rest of the clubs.
Okay, Mr. Ciero.
Sounds good to me, Mr. Mayor. I have
Okay.
no issue with that.
Okay. So, amendment would be in order, or one representative representing all the service clubs or something? Councillor Durley, how do you want to
Okay,
word that?
building on what Councillor Kirsty said, that a member of the service club community, mutually appointed by the service clubs, be there to act as a liaison between this group and all of the service clubs.
Okay, we gotta capture that in shorter language, but I think we get the idea.
Okay.
So, one representative from the service clubs acting as a liaison.
Yes.
How does that sound? Okay. Okay, so moved by Durley, seconded by Kersey. I guess the only question is, we'll want this committee populated quickly, so how long would that particular piece take? Or would we hold up the formation of the committee for that? They could still proceed, and as we populate that, that would be an important question for council. it might take a few months for the service clubs to figure out who's going to be their representative. So if
can slide in
council's
after.
okay with that, we can slide them in after?
Slide them
Okay.
in after, hold the spot.
Okay,
Maybe they have no interest, period.
right.
Just,
Councillor
as
Durley?
as a suggestion, perhaps a phone call to every contact in the service club community to say, within 2 weeks, can you give us a person who might act as a liaison between the other service clubs on this community? And I think that if we put a time limit on it, I'm sure they can do that within 2 or 3 weeks, and that would speed up the process.
Okay. I'm just thinking of timing of meetings, so that's fine. We'll deal with that when we get to it. Councillor Kersey, on the amendment?
Oh, no, we're dealing with.
Anything further on the amendment? So I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? The amendment carries. Councillor Kersey to the main motion as amended.
Yeah, I have a couple of other concerns with the makeup of the committee. Firstly, if you look at the makeup of the committee, the majority of it almost looks like an arena replacement committee, as opposed to a community center committee. I think there needs to be some more representation from the art side, perhaps representative from the E.L. Crosley Drama Club or E.L. Crosley, something along that line. Because I think that the vision originally was that this community center would be available to all members of the community, not just an arena. Also, well, let's deal with that one first. I also
Are you
think that,
proposing-
for example, on another line, maybe we can do them both on the same one. We spent 2 council meetings acknowledging and recognizing the Pelham Basketball Association and their successes, where the proposal originally in the report was to have 2 gymnasiums. We don't have any representatives of any of the gymnasiums users, so I think that would be a reasonable addition to this committee as well.
Okay.
And lastly, I question in my mind the inclusion of Niagara YMCA. We haven't entered into any contracts with them at this point. While we are having ongoing discussions, I don't know that they need to be directly involved in the community's vision of what this community center should look like at this stage of the game. Maybe down the road, if we solidify our agreement with them, they can bring some input before we go to the drawing stage, but I think at this stage of the game, I don't see the point of having them there personally.
Okay, thank you. So you've raised 3 issues.
Yep.
How do you propose that we deal with them?
Do you want to deal with them one at a time, or probably the 2 easy ones are the involvement of, the drama club or a similar group from E.L. Crosley, and the involvement of the Pelham Basketball Association. I'd propose that they be added. That would be a motion.
Okay, that we add representatives from E.L. Crosley Drama
Yeah.
and the Pelham Panthers basketball.
Yes.
Sir, do we need a seconder? I guess we don't need a seconder. Discussion regarding that amendment? Councilor Rivak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm supportive of the essence of Councillor Kersey's motion, which is to have interests other than athletic and specifically arena-related athletics involved. I think there are people in the community who are involved in a variety of dramatic and musical enterprises. Dance studios, for example, are in there. I'm just wondering whether it's specifically E.L. Crosley that we have to mention in this, or perhaps we're looking at some way of reaching out into performing arts persons within the community who are involved in it, and getting 1 or 2 of them out and interested to become part of this. I can think of 1 or 2 individuals who might be useful, and we can talk about this. Otherwise, I don't know that this is the place to put names forward, but I can think of a few, and I'm sure others can as well, and maybe it's a matter of reaching out to them and asking, or first of all, telling them that we're actually interested in having an additional aspect of the rec center for the community, and would they be interested in bringing their ideas forward?
So what I'm hearing you say, Councillor, is that you're recommending, instead of it being very restrictive to, as the amendment is, to just say something like, and one representative representing performing arts in Pelham, or something like that.
I'm good with that.
Okay?
Yes, thank you.
We have to have a formal motion or amendment or whatever. So let's amend the amendment. Are we okay with that? So Counselor, did you want to comment? No. Counselor Ribbiak amends it to saying, whatever I said, a representative of the performing arts in Pelham. All those in favor? Any opposed? That amendment is carried. And now to the amendment itself as amended. Anything further on the basketball piece, I guess, or Counselor?
Thank you, and I also support that. I think a gymnasium and its appropriate makeup could be a very important part of the rec center, so I would certainly support a motion that says that the basketball community be represented on this committee.
Okay. Anything further? Are we ready for calling the amendment, Counselor Papp?
I want to take it one step higher. I'm struggling not so much from, I have nothing opposed to any of these conclusions. I have a difficulty with the concept of recreation. And I would rather that, I thought we talked about a multifaceted community center that would functionally offer all of these different components, so that from a design and preparation standpoint, those components would be included and saved and accepted when you make the decision whether it's an arena replacement. I just don't want us to get hung up, and I'm thinking of a facility that I'm very familiar with, which has 17 different functions in it, which range from recreational to health therapy, heart support. I'm just thinking of all this stuff that we're building out there. So mine more, Mr. Mayor, is of trying to, and you don't have to do it tonight, because you can do that, you can strike that at the very first meeting, is just conceptually and functionally describe what this is going to be. And I've always been in the opinion of, it's a community center that is multifaceted, that includes all these components. And if I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, just the recreation, I don't want it, I'm not disparaging it, but I just want to leave it open to all the resilience and the ability to build things that we could possibly build. And I'm thinking down the road, that's just my own comment. So I have no objection to any of the other stakeholders being involved. It's just, what are we designing? You know, like, what's
Right.
the ultimate function that you're trying to put here?
So are you trying to change the purpose?
The purpose of the terms of this committee would be to work on a multifaceted community center. And that incorporates all those different variety of components, and then you can talk to, whether you include them, and I know Mr. CEO is right too, you don't want too large a community, but you can also reach out to all those different people and get all that information to build into what you want to see happen there. That's,
Okay, so-
that's my, that would be my suggestion.
It's a good point, but currently the amendment on the floor, and I'm sorry I'm
No,
doing this
I
just to get it,
apologize.
is for performing arts and basketball, so we have to vote on that.
Well, that,
Okay, are we ready for that? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion's carried. Now, Counselor Papp, I
respect the
built on by
purpose.
Counselor Kersey, you're saying the purpose is, as it says, is to provide advice and input in the architectural design of a new recreation center. You're saying it's way more than that. It's more a multi-purpose community center.
Correct.
Or recreation and community center.
Which could include all those prerequisites, recreation, it could, you capture all that. It may sound, like hokey, but it isn't, because that sets the stage, the raison d'etre of why you're actually putting this together.
100%.
I would propose that.
CEO?
Mr. CEO, what do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. The term recreation center is my own syntax. I just,
Right.
I've always called it a recreation center.
Right,
I haven't
right.
thought of it in that context, so I would say that that's a very good idea, to change the name from recreation center, or the mandate rather, from recreation center to community center, and I think that
Captures it all.
I think that's quite appropriate.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
Counselor Papp, you'll make that amendment?
I would like to suggest that it be changed from recreation to community center.
Okay, thank you.
Just
Counselor
perhaps
Durley?
the word multifaceted, maybe.
Multi-use.
Sure, Councilor Durley, I've seen it used that way. If everyone understands, like you say, understands that with community center, but a multifaceted describes it even more.
That, I think, gives the whole concept more meaning.
Then it captures all of that.
Counselor King?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. It's interesting because the CEO and I had a similar discussion when we were putting a slide deck together, as is in his
Right.
notes, meeting with Mr. Allison. What are we calling this thing? So I'm glad council's having the discussion so that we know what we're going to call it moving forward, right? So the amendment is a new multifaceted community center.
Right.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? Going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion's carried.
Perfect.
So that the purpose is amended, and we have the amendments on the additional folks. I would just ask that we correct the one, it's not the, I don't think it's called the Pelham Art Club, I think it's called the Pelham Art Festival.
Arts Festival.
So if that can be amended as a error.
There's something.
Oh, it is correct? I'm sorry.
James,
Ms. Van Ravensway, enlighten us.
through you, Mr. Mayor, it's the Pelham Art Festival is one group. The Pelham Art Club is another group. Many people from the Pelham Art Club belong to the Pelham Art Festival. The Pelham Art Festival is an event.
Okay. Thank you. Vicky told me to, right? That's what the answer. All right, thank you. Anything further on Councillor Kersey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to put it on the table for discussion. I'd like to move that the Niagara YMCA be removed as a member on the committee at this stage.
Okay, thank you. Let's hear why the CAO put it there. Mr. CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you're aware, the staff has received a mandate from council to enter into discussions about our role, our partnership opportunity with the Y. No, we don't have any. We're just starting that process with them. I would recommend that the Y be included in the conversation. I think it's important as far as for a number of different reasons. One, we don't want to impact their current operation as was indicated through the leisure plan reporting process, but we also want to make sure that if there is a partnership role, that they have some facilities that they would be that they would require. So rather than striking them from the committee, I might recommend that they become an ex officio non-voting members so that they can participate but not have a decision-making role.
That's how we use it. Yeah. Great.
Percy?
I guess I have no problem with them being ex officio. I guess the only thing that I want to speak to is, I don't think our main concern here should be how we impact on their operations in other community. I think our main thrust here should be how this community center will impact on our community. And that may sound very harsh, but the reality is we're building a center, a legacy center here for our community, and not to protect the Y in Welland or Port Colborne or what have you. So I have no problem with them being on in an advisory capacity, non-voting, at least at this stage of the game. If we enter into a firm contract with them and we want to change that role down the road, it's within the mandate of this committee to do that and bring it back to council. I can live with that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor King and then Pap.
I believe that for a community center, the Y brings a lot of history and experience. They are not strictly a center for sports. They have children's activities and camps and so on and so forth. I think they bring something to the table, so I would not be in agreement with excluding them from this group.
Okay, thank you. Just for clarity on the motion, so the amendment now is that they be included as ex officio. Is that correct? Non-voting
I'll
members?
amend my motion to that, to
Okay.
accept that.
All right, so I don't know if that changes what you're suggesting or not. Okay? Councillor Pap?
Well, just picking up on that, if they are a strategic advisor in an ex officio, it makes really, I hate to say it, it builds on the strength of what the CEO, because they become a model of practice, and it's not a matter, you're right, is whether they're in business, not in business, or whether ABC Fitness Company. The more important thing is they do bring a brand of excellence, and I have to say, I've been very close to them over the years, and they do operate in such a manner in which they could complement, and we can decide at the end of the day whether we are happy or not with what that. But the expertise and the strategic advice they bring to developing the functionality of this building is unquestionably one of the best. So to that degree, It doesn't mean that they have dibs on a first contract.
Right.
Doesn't make that, and I know that that's not the issue at all. Let's functionally design the best community center that meets those needs that we have to have, and that, I concur, I do wish to see the Y there, at least in that capacity. And if there's other stakeholders that we come through the process that we wish to include, we could probably include them as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Others? I think it's important to include the why. For the biggest reason, and I said this actually at their anniversary, when you look at the numbers of folks that are members of the Y from Pelham, it's roughly 2,500. So they are the largest provider of service, for our residents. So I think to have that perspective from them directly to provide that opinion is extremely important. So I think it's important that they be there. I'm fine with them being ex officio, and they may well change into a different role should there be some sort of formal thing, or maybe it doesn't. It doesn't change. But if you think about some of the other groups, basketball has how many? 100? Hockey has 400. This is 2,400, 2,500 people are registered Y members from Pelham. I think it's important that they're there. Councillor Durley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. But looking down at under the heading of meetings, subcommittees and/or task groups.
Sorry, Councillor, we're dealing with this amendment right now.
Yes, I am, but I'm
Okay.
just saying that the way that the membership is built
Okay.
can be expanded by subcommittees. So in fact, if we need to have more expertise than just a Y or just something else, a subcommittee can be formed in order to get this valuable information that will feed it. So this is just something supporting
Okay.
the amendment, really. It's not not away from the amendment, but supporting the amendment.
Thank you, Councillor. I appreciate you clarifying that. Thank you. Anything further to the amendment?
No.
All those in favor of the amendment? All those opposed? The amendment carries. Anything further? All right, we ready for calling the question on the amended terms of reference? All those in favor? Any opposed? That amended terms of reference is carried as amended. Thank you very much. Good discussion.
I'm gonna amend my amendment.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Papp, second by Councillor Lane, that the issue summary report Maple Acre Library Action Plan be received, and the Committee of the Whole direct staff to arrange for an inaugural meeting of this working group for the purpose of determining a state-of-the-art, ideal, resilient library building that will last for a long time. Obviously, wording put together by the committee at the creative problem-solving process. Discussion to this? Is it envisioned similar to that group that got together before to kind of consult with or do a pre-consult?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, there's 2 members of the library committee, 2 members of the Friends group, and 2 members of council, and it's proposed that that group be the ones that continue with this discussion.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any others? Good to take some action on this. I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion is carried. The next item has been moved by Councillor Papp, second by Councillor Lane. The issue summary report, Maple Acre Facility Assessment, be received, and the Committee of the Whole recommend that Council approve an upset limit of $28,100 for the immediate repair of critical items to the Maple Acre Library branch as outlined in the Facility Condition Assessment Report, and the copies of the report be provided to the Pelham Public Library Board and Friends of the Maple Acre Library. Questions, comments? Councillor Ribbiak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of points. First one, a bit of housekeeping. Is there a report that was meant to go with this outlining how the amounts were arrived at, or is this the whole package? Am I missing something?
Mr. CEO?
There was the report that was provided by Insight, that was an attachment to the report on call to order.
Yeah, it's a big.
He's asking how the numbers were arrived at.
Those were provided by the consultant, as I understand, their cost estimates.
Right, but I don't think the consultant's report was part of this. I just,
Attachment, a file attachment?
I missed that, and I apologize. So bear with me if I,
84 pages.
as I proceed, I cover ground that
Gonna
I
pass
should
it
have known.
along?
Yeah, maybe we can just answer the question very quickly. I take it
Okay.
that this is, these numbers, 374,900, come out of an understanding of the current building and its continued maintenance in its current format.
Maybe it's a bit more nuanced than that, Mr. CEO.
Sorry, could you repeat the question through you, Mr. Mayor?
His question is this just to continue the current building in its current status?
No, there would have to be upgrades and improvements, particularly in the area of accessibility, that are included in this report. But there's things like the floor joists had been cut into for plumbing, you know, all sorts of things going on in the building that, you know, would represent some significant life safety issues. But there are other things that we've considered, like updating washrooms so they're accessible entrances, those sorts of things. Having said that, this is the discussion for another day, but if you retrofit to meet the accessibility standards in the current building envelope, you can do it, but it's not going to be ideal. So those are the things that I think, you know, again, going down the road with this committee that we're going to be forming and the work that still needs to be done, those are questions that will have to be answered.
Okay, so as I understand it, Mr. Mayor, and thank you very much for that, Mr. CEO, that report and those numbers come out of maintaining at least the current footprint, the current external structure, and the work that produced the numbers is the work that's required to bring that building up to snuff. So this discussion really isn't about whether we will spend that money. This discussion is about meeting the initial requirement to kind of make it immediately safe, but an expenditure of money will be dependent on the work of the committee we just struck in the previous motion.
Mr. CEO?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, in the consultant's report, they've actually stretched the $374,000 required for building upgrades over a 10-year period, and they've plotted it on a graph, so year 1, year 2, year 3, and you're sort of adjusting things as you move forward from critical to less critical. We're saying that the $28,000 is to address the immediate life safety issues that have been identified. The rest is up for discussion moving ahead, just depending on what you're going to do with the building. If you decide to keep it as a library, then you're going to have to spend that amount plus for improving the building. If you decide to relocate to another facility, then some of these repairs may not be necessary moving ahead.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Mayor, I think I'm satisfied. I think what I understand is that what we're being asked for right now is $28,000 because there's stuff that immediately needs to happen. But any other expenditure will be dependent on what decision is made by the committee made before, and if it's a bigger building, different layout, the budget will be based on that, and that this discussion then is not about us approving this amount of money. Good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to be clear in my own mind that that's what we were doing.
Thank you very much. Others? Councillor Lane.
Yeah, well, I just need, thank you, Mr. Mayor, I just need some clarification, because when I read this, I was of the opinion that this $374,000 would put this building into shape as far as being accessible, and am I reading that wrong, or I'm reading it right?
That's how I read it. Mr. CEO?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
So if in fact, if I might, Mr. Mayor, if we spend $375,000 on this building, we will have this building will meet all accessibility standards and will be safe for many, many years to come. Is that what I understand from what I'm reading in the report?
I would say that to be a partially correct statement. You'll deal with issues that are minimum code requirements. However, things like bathrooms are interesting because if you meet the accessibility standard for this, you may only have one common bathroom for everyone to use. Is that ideal in a public building? Probably not. So those questions still remain to be answered. Will it meet the legislation? Yeah. Will it be will it be able to handle the demands of a public library? Probably not. So those, again, are decisions and discussions for another day, but they're things that council's gonna have to consider.
Councilor Lane, anything further?
Well, no, really not too clear, because again, as I read this report, I thought, in fact, that this in fact would give us a library that met all the standards and everything else, and now I'm hearing head shaking around, so that's what if that's the case. then-
CAO, can you provide further clarity, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Part of the discussion that council will have to have as well is modernizing the building as far as technology, books, furnishings. I mean, that is not even in the scope of this. This was simply to look at the structural assessment of the building, the life safety issues, mechanical, fire protection, those sorts of things. Those are basic code issues. I do not address the larger picture of what the requirements for the library for the community of Fenwick are going to be now and into the future.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Kersey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just going to add to what the CAO has said. This report does not deal with functionality issue whatsoever. It basically looked at and said, how can we bring this up to code? But the minute you start putting in barrier-free washrooms and ramps and all of these sort of things to overcome the impediments that are there, the likelihood is you won't have floor area that'll accommodate a library as envisioned by the committee at. In fact, if you go back and look at some of the reports that were put together dictating the type of and size of library that you would need in a community Fenwick size, you're looking at 4,200 square feet. To bring it to modern standards, to meet all of the requirements of a modern library, et cetera. So if you take 1,800 square feet out of here roughly, you're looking at an addition of 2,400 square feet to the existing building. So this is only to meet code. This has nothing to do with functionality.
Okay, thank you. Others?
Location of funds?
Madam Treasurer?
Yeah, as this report came in, we did get an announcement that we were getting some surplus funds from federal gas tax, so we thought they were appropriate for this area, small dollars. But the funding will come from the facilities reserve to cover the 28,000 at this time.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? All right, we're ready for the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. We look forward to further discussions and further work on this. Thank you so much. And hearing about those repairs. It's been moved by Councilor Ribbiak, second by Councilor King, that the Committee of the Whole receive the May 2014 Clerk's Department report for information and that council agenda management recommendations contained therein be implemented forthwith to take effect to the next meeting of council. I have to move ahead to this because of the 84 pages. You have a scroll button or something, we can just fast forward it. Here it is. Questions, comments? You ready for calling of the question? All right, all those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. We look forward to those changes. It's been moved by Councilor Ribbiak, second by Councilor King, that Committee of the Whole receive the May 2014 CAO's report for information. Anything on that? Councilor Bureau.
One question that comes to mind in the first paragraph of the overview and statistics. Fenwick beautification tenders have been closed and awarded to,
Stevensville Lawn Service. I had typed this prior to it being known, and I called the director to find out, and then I've gotten distracted and forgot to put it in the sentence.
Can that be amended?
Yeah, well,
Thank
I'll
you.
correct that.
okay.
Others? Mr. CEO, can you just give us an update regarding number 8, the business case?
The business case, the Phase 3 business case from Leisure Plan, as council is aware, this is addressing the issues surrounding the existing arena, what to do with it. There has been not a delay, but there's been some time that has been spent with a subcontracted engineer that's gone through the facility head to toe. Leisure Plan and John cannot do his part of the report until the engineering work has been done and the engineering assessment work has been done. I have talked to him, and he's assured me that Phase 3 will be presented to council at the July 7th regular council meeting, and he'll come in as a delegation and present that information. Also, there's been some information requested for minor hockey, so I've asked John to provide some supplemental comments on the operation of a twin pad right out of the gate as opposed to waiting. Just out of interest with regards to what the operating, the capital implications might be and the operating implications, just to answer some questions that have arisen so that we have a very thorough understanding of what the entire project is going to look like.
Thank you. And when is it anticipated that that might?
The supplemental information I'm hoping to receive from Leisure Plan by the June 16th council meeting. So if that's available, I'll be bringing that to council sooner rather than later.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Durley?
Just based on a conversation that we had earlier in this meeting, the last sentence of that with questions, with these questions resolved, council will be in a position to make a decision on whether or not to proceed with the design phase for a new multifaceted community center, not recreational center, again, to be consistent with that we're not replacing an arena, which is what apparently John is going to be giving us the report on. We're looking at either twin the arena or build a new multifaceted community center.
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. CEO?
Am I correct in that, or that certainly is what I got from the last
I'm going
conversation?
to practice in front of the mirror tonight saying that so I can remember. But yes, that's correct.
Okay.
The phase 3 report deals with, can you twin the existing arena? Is it possible? What's the condition of the building? What's the condition of the mechanical systems, the ice making systems? We know that they're at the end of the life cycle, but how far into that end are we? We don't have those questions. The multifaceted community center piece is what I've asked John to look at. Minor Hockey's indicated they may be able to increase ice usage hours to meet the threshold for a twin pad. That remains to be seen, but if they can do that, what does that mean for the decision making? And that's the information I'm looking for from Leisure Plan.
Okay, just it was confusing in the wording of that, saying, are we going to twin the arena or build
Right, just
a
to,
community center, not a new arena? Okay, that's where I'm going from. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Others? Councillor?
On a different matter, Mr. Mayor, if I may?
Yes?
Through you to the CAO, I was wondering what our next steps are with economic development. As our term of council gets shorter and shorter, it becomes more important that we spearhead this and move it forward so that it's in preparation for or ready for the next council to move forward on it.
I have been attempting in the last several days to get in touch with one member of the committee that had agreed to look at the stats. We had some confusion on who was purchasing the Stat Canada information. It requires you to buy it.
Right.
And that now has been resolved. So the town has gone ahead and purchased the required statistical information. And the member on the committee is now doing the analysis. So I expect to have that results shortly. That was the next step in the action plan, and then when that's been done, then we'll be convening another meeting with the committee to further discuss what the implications are and what direction we want to go.
Do we have a timeline on that, Mr.
No,
CEO?
I'm still trying to confirm that, but I'm expecting it to be fairly shortly.
Okay, great, wonderful.
All right, thank you. And I did happen to bump into Mr. Nafalk, and he indicated that he was working on it and had some time this week to work on it. So. Okay, thank you. Business Link, thought that was some good news. They wanted to do a feature on the town. You want to just add anything to that?
Yeah, that's correct, Mr. Mayor. We had a meeting with them last week with regards to Business Link is a regional business magazine. Business newspaper, I guess you could probably call it. They have done similar articles in other communities, but we're extremely interested in, as they said, quote, Pelham seems to be a community on the move, and we're really excited to learn more, and we wanted to do a large rollout reporting on the activities and what's been going on in the community. This is 8-page, they may even go to 12, they indicated, depending on type of information, the volume of information. And we have provided them a long list of contacts from all over the community, the agricultural community, the business community, some private sector, some public sector things. So they seem to be quite excited. There is no financial obligation on our end, so that is to say that this isn't, we'll write about you if you buy it. This is something they're doing, but they will be, of course, there will be advertising opportunities for businesses that want to participate.
All right, thank you very much. Anything further for the CAO? I would just like to say it's good to see that the East Vaughan Health Study Consortium Group has now come to a conclusion on that, and so we'll look forward to moving ahead, onward and upward. I'm going to call the question on the CAO's report. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. 2012 budget, I think, is when we had that in there, so it's been a long time. Thank you. This, we do have an additional item of new business. This has been moved by Councillor Papp, seconded by Councillor Kirsty, that an email correspondence from Glenn McDonald regarding delivery of unwanted newspapers to his residents be received, and staff be requested to contact appropriate newspaper circulation office to request assistance for this resident. Present company excluded, of course. This had come across, a number of folks through the years have talked to me about this, and we've always said, talk to the newspapers. So I think this is just seeing if staff can, on their behalf, look into it a little bit further.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, anything further on that? Councillor Durley?
I'm just a little put out that, we, and I'll look for the exact wording here, not very impressed with the Tribune nor the town of Pelham. This should not be a reflection on us. We're not the people that are offending here. But, I understand the frustration that this person may have and others, but, truly I want it on record that we do not deliver that newspaper, that the newspaper delivers it themselves. So.
Okay, thank you. And I think what's worrisome, and I think it's been raised around this table for years, is that sometimes they clog up the culverts, and then when one has a storm event, because they've not been picked up, so. Councillor Kersey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm wondering whether us undertaking this is going to open a whole floodgate and set a precedent for us, any time that a member of our community has a problem with a private enterprise, whatever it may be, all of a sudden will come to the town and ask us to have staff get involved in their stead, and I'm a little bit concerned about that. I don't think that's necessarily our role. I think our role is to, do what we do, not necessarily interpose ourselves between a private enterprise and a citizen. If they don't want the newspaper, they should write a letter to the newspaper and deal with it themselves. I think that's the correct direction that we should give them. I don't feel that we as a town should be having our staff call and ask a private enterprise to stop delivering a newspaper to one particular citizen.
Okay, thank you. I thought it was broader than that. The fire chief wants to
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if I can make a comment. We've had a number of complaints throughout the town about this. This customer, Greg, has worked with him a number of times. Correspondence, we've recommended a couple courses of action, and he doesn't seem to want to take it, and he seems to think it's our problem. So, but we have tried a number of times over the last couple of months to try to help him with this situation, and he's just not really grasping our help. So that's where it lies. We have tried.
Thank you for that, Chief. I think that speaks in favor of what I'm saying. I think he's dumping it back onto the town and saying, you have to deal with it. And I think our position should be to say, here's a written direction from us, write a letter to the Tribune, ask them not to have the paper delivered. If they don't do it, call your lawyer and have your lawyer write a letter to them.
Okay. Councillor Ribbiak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that given the number of complaints that we do hear, or certainly I've heard a number over the years, and in the view of a lot of people, I think the appearance of those wanted newspapers on our driveways is a bit of a blight. I think that in the light of that many complaints, it may behoove us to at least consider something to be done about that within this town. I don't know whether the right action is to end up with a bylaw or some sort of a direction or protocol to people who want to deliver their advertising material. But we do get a lot of that, and I think that we ought to at least consider what our role is. I do agree with Councillor Kersey that being the agent for individuals who have problems with other individuals or individual corporations is probably not our role. But I think that there's probably within this something that we ought to talk about and come to an agreement on within council. And maybe the agreement is to do nothing, but at least let's talk about it at some point when it's appropriate.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lane?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have to kind of agree with Councillor Kersey on the point he's making. And my feeling on this is that if the town gets involved and then the problem doesn't get rectified, then the town has lost some credibility as well, right? So it's a no-win situation, I don't think, for the town. And I'm not sure that, although I do sympathize with the individual or other individuals, I don't think it's something that we as a town should be getting involved with, at least this way.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask the CAO, he has a suggestion here on sort of a way forward.
I might recommend to council that that maybe two things happen. One is that some correspondence go back to the complainant outlining the fact that it's not a town role to regulate the delivery of newspapers by a company, or, you know, just to indicate the concerns that have been raised by Councillor Kersey and others. Second, I would recommend that council consider amending this resolution to be something of the effect that staff be requested to contact the appropriate newspaper circulation office to request a resolution to unwanted newspaper deliveries, as opposed to advocating on behalf of a specific individual.
So would somebody move that?
I would move that.
Councillor King? So that the resolution would read, contact appropriate newspaper circulation office to request a resolution to unwanted newspaper deliveries. That's the amendment. Discussion to that. Councillor Papp, anything?
I couldn't agree more, because you have others that I won't name that deliver papers, so it's just, all we're doing is just bringing it to their attention, and it's between them and their customer or their unwanted customer. And secondly, I would go along with Councillor Kersey, this is not in our jurisdiction.
No.
Unless we're prepared to move into that area.
No.
If it does, Councillor Ribbeck, you're right, if it falls into some sort of littering or something like that, then it would, but I think we're walking a dangerous line here.
Okay, thank you.
So why don't we, Mr. Mayor, if I may, make this even a little bit broader, rather than singling out a particular newspaper,
Right.
why don't we write to
That's what
all
I'm
of the
saying.
newspapers that deliver to the community and make it a broad-based
Okay.
statement?
So that it would be that staff be requested to contact appropriate newspaper circulation offices
Yes.
to request a resolution to unwanted newspaper deliveries.
That's all you have to do.
Okay?
That's it.
Okay. Shall we vote on that amendment? All those in favor? Any opposed? That amendment is carried. And now to the main motion as amended. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried, I believe. Thank you. The last item, this has been moved by Councillor Kersey, second by Councillor Lane. This regular meeting of Committee of the Whole be adjourned until the next regular committee scheduled for Monday, June 16th, unless sooner called by the mayor. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
What's that?
So it has been moved by Councillor Durley, seconded by Councillor King. The council adjourn the in-camera session and the council do now rise with report. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Councillor Papp?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, under section 20 in camera, first item under there. Oh, I can't get my glasses, sorry.
The second item, right?
Item under section 239-2E, litigation including matters before administrative tribunal. One of the matters there, I am directly related to that particular person's relative and have been since the issue arose.
Okay. Thank you. That'll be noted in the minutes. Thank you. So, do you want, let's deal with that item first.
Glad he came to a sensus.
Okay. Counselor Papp, we're gonna deal with that item first, and did you wanna then
I'll
leave
just
the room?
slip out, okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
Make reservations. Give me the keys and I can make reservations.
So it's been moved by Counselor Durley, second by Counselor King, that the correspondence considered in closed session regarding item 1A2 be received and the actions recommended contained therein be approved. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Counselor Papp? Thank you. It's been moved by Counselor King, seconded by Counselor Durley, that the closed session report submitted by the CAO regarding item 1AI be received and that the CAO be authorized to take the direction given during the in-camera meeting in this regard. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Receiving it? There was direction given, wasn't there?
Just to respond.
To respond? So the recommendation has been moved by Counselor Papp, seconded by Counselor Kersey. The correspondence received in closed session regarding item 1BI be received. And I think incumbent in that, there was direction to respond. Okay, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. It's been moved by Counselor Papp, second by Counselor Durley. The report submitted by the CEO in closed session regarding item 1B2, II, be received and the CEO be authorized to take direction giving during the in-camera meeting in this regard. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. It's been moved by Counselor King, second by Counselor Durley. The following bylaw be read a first, second, and third time and passed. Bylaw 3504, 2014, being a bylaw to adopt, ratify, and confirm the proceedings of council of the town of Pelham at its regular meeting held on the second day of June 2014. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. And finally, it's been moved by Counselor Ribbiak, seconded by Counselor King, that this meeting of council be adjourned until the next regular meeting scheduled for Monday, June 16th, unless sooner called by the mayor. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.